This is Minister Carnes. Welcome to another edition of Translation and Interpretation.
The law doesn't provide a way out of your sin situation. You will sin more under the law. What does the Bible say? That the law is the strength of sin? You're supposed to sin more under the law. And Romans 6 says you're not under the law anymore. You're under grace. But there's still people coming to church defending the law. I'm going to live by the law of Moses. I'm just going to live by it because why? Because that's all you ever heard. But there is no cure to living under the law. Romans 3:20.
Here are my comments on this short video from Creflo Dollar. His assertion is that we are not under the law, but under grace, meaning we do not have to or should not keep the law. But is this true? Let us allow the Bible to interpret itself. Romans chapter 8, verse 4. In order that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. Two elements of the law of Moses are woven into the fabric of the law itself. This can be found in Romans chapter 8, verse 2. Because through Messiah Yeshua, the law of the Spirit who gives life has set you free from the law of sin and death. There is the law of life, and there is the law of sin and death. See Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. Romans chapter 3, verse 23. For all have sinned and fall short of the majesty of the Almighty. Let us be clear on sin. 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Everyone who makes a practice of sinning also practices lawlessness. Sin is lawlessness. Sin is breaking the law. Missing the mark is also breaking the law. Romans chapter 6, verse 23. For the wages or payment for sin is death. This falls under the category of the law of sin and death. But the gift of the Almighty is eternal life in Messiah Yeshua. Is the law still in effect today? Let us look at Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 and 18. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly, I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not an iota, not a dot, will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Heaven and earth are still here. Therefore, the law is still here. Creflo Dollar quotes Romans chapter 6, verse 14 in his video. He explains that we are not under the law and implies that we do not have to keep the law. Let us examine the verse. For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under the law, but under grace, meaning favor. In quoting verse 14, Creflo Dollar forgot to read the next verse, Romans chapter 6, verse 15. What then? Are we to sin, break the law, because we are not under the law, but under grace, meaning favor? By no means. This means that when we are not under the law, we are not sinning or breaking the law. Romans chapter 7, verse 7. What then shall we say? Is the law sin? By no means. Yet I would not have known sin if it had not been for the law. I would not have known what it means to covet if the law had not said, you shall not covet. If the law is not sin, let me repeat that again. If the law is not sin, then how can it cause us to sin more? It cannot. Also, in this verse, the commandments are a part of the law. If there is no law, then there are no commandments. If there are no commandments, then adultery is okay, murder is okay, and stealing is okay. Romans chapter 3, verse 31. Do we then overthrow, do away with the law by this faith, meaning belief in Messiah? By no means. On the contrary, we uphold, make firm, or establish the law. Is the law the strength or power of sin? Let us look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 56. The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. This verse highlights the connection between sin, death, and the law, which is the law of sin and death, emphasizing that sin gives death its power, and the law is the source of knowledge of sin. When we are not under the law, because we are not breaking the law, then sin no longer has control or dominion over us. Romans chapter 3, verse 20 gives us the purpose of the law. For by works of the law, no human being will be justified, meaning to be made or declared righteous, in his sight, since through the law comes knowledge of sin. According to the word of the Almighty, the law gives us the knowledge of what sin is. However, the law is also righteous. Romans chapter 7, verses 11 and 12. For sin, because we break the law, has taken an opportunity through the commandment, deceived me, meaning sin deceived him, and through it put me to death. Therefore, the law is set apart, and the commandment is set apart, and righteous and good. We know that the law contained within the commandments is righteous. See Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25. Once again, when Creflo Dollar uses Romans chapter 3, verse 20 to justify not keeping the law, he forgot to read the verse before verse 20. Romans chapter 3, verse 19 states, "Now we know that whatever the law says, it speaks to those who are under the law. Sinners are under the law. The righteous are not under the law, because they do not break the law." 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9 verifies Romans chapter 3, verse 19. Understanding this, the law is not laid down or made for the righteous, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the unrighteous and sinners, for the none set apart and profane. Romans chapter 2, verse 12. As many who have sinned without the law will also perish without the law. As many as have sinned under the law will be judged by the law. Many people live in sin when they say that the law has been done away with or abolished. The end result is that they will perish because they said that there is no law anymore. The contents of the law will judge those who know the law, but they live in sin by breaking the law. Lastly, 1 John chapter 2, verse 4. Whoever says, "I know him," but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to receive updates on newly published videos.